What's up, YouTube, and welcome to episode 3 of Dish by Keev. I'm joined today by Barney Santos at Hintify. Welcome to the show, Barney.
Thank you, bro. I'm so happy to be here.
Absolutely, man. Thanks for joining me. Thank you for spending the day with me. I know you're pretty busy with all the things that you got going on, but just wanted to show my appreciation. I think a lot of people don't know our history and how we met, but just want to kind of give you your flowers, man. I think I would have never opened my restaurant if it wasn't for you. I think you and I met back in 2019, 2020?
A while ago.
2020?
Pre-COVID for sure.
Yeah. So Barney and I met at the SBDC, right? He was a business advisor there. And I was in the midst of working on the business plan. And you were in the process of developing what is now known as Boulevard Market. And you saw my business plan. And
the best business plan I've ever seen in my life, by the way.
Appreciate it.
To this day. Yeah.
So Barney saw the business plan, and he had this development that he was working on, and thought that, you know, it was something that we can continue to talk about and see if that will be feasible for us to, you know, bring NOLA to Boulevard Market. So I think a lot of people don't know, you know, obviously they know what you do for the community, but they don't know what you do for people. And I just really want to show my heartfelt appreciation for everything you've done for me. Really appreciative to get that opportunity to be able to open NOLA.
Thank you, dog. That means a lot.
So
that means a lot, man. Honestly, like I love you to pieces, dude. Honestly, like I there's a few people that I've done business with in the past several years that I'm just like hold a special place in my heart just because of the intelligence, the emotional intelligence, the grind. Like it's just, you're one of those people, man. Honestly, like
Appreciate that.
It was an honor working with you and alongside with you, man. Honestly, I got to see so much awesome stuff that you did.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely.
And it ain't over.
It ain't over. It ain't over. You know, my brain is always going like, what's next?
Turn that
what's
off.
next?
You can't turn that off.
Yeah, absolutely, man. All right, man. So let's dive into it.
Yeah.
Right. Who is Barney Santos? Like, take us through that journey leading up to the point of actually, you know, opening your establishment and, you know, getting involved in entrepreneurship.
Yeah. I mean, you know, I'm 40, so I've been doing this in one form or another for like 20 years now, man. Sure. Honestly, like I've always been an entrepreneur. Like, you know, I did research and I studied entrepreneurship as an undergrad and graduate school. So like I'm hip on the research and the academia and the pedagogy of it. You know, a lot of entrepreneurs have entrepreneurial parents and they see that example, right? And they kind of like, well, that's an opportunity for me to kind of go in that space. And I've always been that way. I had entrepreneurial parents. My parents are immigrants. So, you know, obviously like that's the ultimate form of entrepreneurship, right?
Sure,
Seeing opportunity
absolutely.
in a new country, crossover. And so I was a part of that, saw that growing up, and ultimately it felt very familiar to me. So when I got to that point in my career, I was like, well, you know, I could do this too. It was like a no-brainer. And so I started off doing mortgage when I was like 19 years old during the first refinance boom back in the day. I got a taste of it. I thought, oh, okay, cool. Like I can actually make money off of my own hustle and not necessarily just on a salary and, you know, hourly wage. And so I just got a taste and just kept going and going and going. Sure. And then, you know, just over the years, again, going to school, getting a master's degree, you kind of like look at opportunities, you see things that you can get involved with, and you kind of jump into them. Iterated that into managing properties that were foreclosing for the banks, you know, and then eventually that market dried up and I was like, well, I need to go to school because, you know, I need to get better. And so wanted to tighten that up, went to business school at Cal State Los Angeles, you know, got a mentor. They told me, look, you're going to excel in your career if you learn corporate experience. Said, okay, sure, let's try that. Went to go work at Unilever, big, you know, global Fortune 100 company, in their food division specifically. Worked with a lot of small business owners in that aspect because, you know, it was a lot of insight-driven stuff that we wanted to learn about the restaurant owners and the small independent operators. And fell in love with the industry there. So, you know, in that whole time frame, I kind of like said, okay, well, how can I merge these two things and kind of like create a sense of space, build community, invest in entrepreneurs, and build out, you know, a lucrative business that can help us and the community in one and the same way. And so,
yeah, that's big. Big.
I mean, for us, it was such a huge thing, right? Like over time, we just kind of like saw this weird sort of thing happening within Latino communities that we saw a disconnect for the longest time where, you know, you had this upperly mobile class of millennials like myself and my wife, Evelyn, she's my partner, and a bunch of other people like that who were kind of getting educated, traveling more, seeing the world, watching Anthony Bourdain, you know, like people like you two traveling. And so like we said, hey, like we want that kind of lifestyle too, right? We want to see what that looks like and feels like as well. Unfortunately, what happens is like we live in these communities and that we grew up in, and a lot of times the communities that we grew up in aren't, they don't evolve or grow at the same pace, right? All communities evolve, right, on their own, if left on their own. But they don't grow in the same pace and a speed that sort of like the millennials were growing and getting adjusted to. And so what happens is a lot of these people like myself were moving out, and they were moving to the West Side, to Hollywood, to, you know, areas that are more developed. And they thought, well, you know, I want to get my taste of travel, of walkable cities, great storefronts, great retail. And that's what was happening. So you had this really huge disconnect happening within these communities. And we started seeing that. And we're like, well, what is the output of that? Well, you're starting to see like empty storefronts because people are not spending, keeping their local dollar in the community. You started seeing graffiti, broken windows, like neglect, a bunch of stuff happening across the board in different places. And we thought, well, what could we do to help offset that? At the time, there was this really great movement happening in Boyle Heights called gentrification, where the gentleman from Eastside Love coined the term. He was talking about how Latinos from the community reinvest back into the community that they live in because they know sort of, you know, how to keep the cultural fabric together. They can invest responsibly. They can invest with integrity and intention and think about the most vulnerable people in the community. And I thought, well, what a genius way to kind of like help the evolution of a community while also maintaining this sort of equitable, responsible sort of perspective in doing so. I thought, well, let's do that. Let's build a company that is that action verb of gentrification. So that's where Gentify was born. That's the name of our company. And so we essentially said, let's build this company that invests in, you know, transformative retail, hospitality, real estate that could transform communities via this creation of third places, you know? And that's where we sort of started our company. We did an enormous amount of research, and we eventually landed at this idea for building Boulevard Market. And it's been phenomenal. That's been our first sort of like social capital, social proof concept to prove the model. And it's been great.
Yeah, definitely. Congratulations on that, man. That's huge. So what inspired you to focus on real estate and development? Like, why not just take a different avenue of actually just opening a restaurant or a bar? What inspired you to take it on a bigger scale?
Yeah, that's a great question. You know, we did start differently, believe it or not. You know, because, you know, when you have that first idea, you're kind of iterating. You're like, well, what is this, right? I have kind of a concept. We initially, believe it or not, we started working with small businesses in the community, handling their social media, because we thought, oh, if we drive more traffic to these places from millennials that are leaving or not spending their money locally, maybe that will help these small businesses economically thrive, right? So that was our initial thesis, and we tried that with a couple of businesses that we started managing their social for free. And it interestingly enough had an adverse effect on it, because we would, in a sense, like kind of catfish people. We'd make the place look really beautiful and great in photos, but the operations would never change. And so when sometimes people would come, they'd be like, oh, this place, the photos look one way, but the place is different. And they would leave negative Yelp reviews, right? And I was like, oh man, that's not helping. And so, you know, we iterated from that, and we're like, well, what is the big like keystone or that large domino that we invest in and focus on? It would create this ripple effect and knock over the other dominoes. And we thought, well, let's look at developing space. And because once you own sort of real estate, you have more leverage and more power to kind of like make bigger decisions and make bigger impact. And so that was initially the idea. Opening up a restaurant was part of that idea too. We were thinking like maybe we could open up a restaurant also. We looked at the margins and it was like, okay, they're a little tight. Like, how can we generate enough cash flow so that I don't have to like leave? Because at the time I was running the Center for Entrepreneurship at Cal State Los Angeles. I want to be able to leave this job full time and do this you know, real estate alone is not enough. You have to kind of like have a big portfolio to have enough cash flow to pay for salary.
Sure.
So we said, well, let's pivot from that, not to food. Let's just open up a bar. And so the bar cash flows really well. Alcohol always has great profit margins. And you need that kind of business inside of a food hall to make it work all together. Right? Sure. It helps loosen it up, make it really good environment. And so that's how those two initial ideas came out. And I think it was a great idea because you think about like, what is the biggest thing that is a problem in these communities, Black and brown communities, is that we don't own enough stuff.
Sure.
We don't own enough buildings. We don't own enough property. I mean, you know, like your family, right? You had that restaurant,
right?
And what happened to her, right? Like same story that happens to so many people, right?
Yep.
Get pushed out because the owner says, you know, I'm going to change it up. I want to let somebody else in here.
Yep, absolutely.
So I didn't want to be a victim of that either. And I thought, well, here we are in a position where we can actually raise money. I built up a network over time. Let's raise money and try to see if we can make an impact in this way and change the narrative a little bit.
Awesome. Yeah, that's a sweet deal. So you have Hintify as the hub, right? The corporation, and then you have Boulevard Market and you have Alchemy Craft.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that process and developing Boulevard Market, and then, you know, having, you know, the separate entity of Alchemy Craft within, you know, that establishment.
Yeah, it's been great, man. Honestly, like Boulevard Market's phenomenal. I love it. It's a creative outlet for us. We get to do a lot of really cool stuff with that. Mm-hmm. But the bar for me, it's really where I've become. It's a passion becoming an operator. You know, like I've always been.
That's the fun part.
Yeah, I love it, man. Honestly, I love operating. I'm an entrepreneur at heart, so creativity is like that's my go-to. Like if I'm not feeling creative, I'm feeling depressed. Like I need to express myself somehow creatively.
I can relate to that.
You know what I'm saying? You know how it is.
For sure.
The operations sometimes it's a little dry. You know, like the number crunching, the strategy, the performance building, all that stuff. Mm-hmm. You know, it's a little dry sometimes, but I love it because it allows me to be creative too. Mm-hmm. And so alchemy, and then also culture. Like culture is so huge. For me, it's a big deal. Yeah. I've been blessed to I have never worked with a team that I had a bad culture. And I've heard so many horror stories, you know? Mm-hmm. So for me, I was like, well, I want to create a place where people want to like love to work there.
Sure.
They feel like they're connected with their teammates, and it's like it's a unit. And so that's really where the bar comes in. Alchemy Craft is a place where I fell in love with being an operator. My team, I love them so much. You know, we have such a great rapport. We build the culture and we invest a lot into them. We're taking them to the Dodger game in a couple months.
Nice.
You know, we do a lot of fun stuff, man. And I would not be where we're at today if it wasn't for the great team that we have. And I love it. And they work really well together. Like the bar, Boulevard, if it wasn't for the bar, you know, Boulevard would work, but it wouldn't be enough for me to kind of like be fully the operator and CEO. I would have to go 100%. Get a job somewhere or something like that. You know, like I said, real estate's great, but it's not a heavy cash flow business until you have a good size portfolio.
Yeah, and especially with, you know, just being in this industry, in the hospitality industry, the turnover, right? And you've been able to, you know, have a lot of longevity with your employees, and that's huge, and that's you know an attestament to your leadership, right? You and your wife's leadership, and keeping that team strong and making sure the morale is high.
It's huge, dude. I mean, you know how it is. Like hospitality is turn and burn. Like the turnover rate is high.
Yeah, it is.
And I don't know. We've been lucky. Like I mean, yes, lucky, but also like we've been blessed to be able to pick really great people who, you know, I don't know. We our hack now is like we just kind of like whenever we interview somebody, we're always like, well, did they work at Starbucks? Because Starbucks seems to be the magic like thing that connects everybody.
Or Chick-fil-A, right?
Yeah, or Chick-fil-A. Yeah, if good environment where like they teach you customer service, like they're just great people. And most of their team either worked at Starbucks or had some sort of like food related hospitality, and then they decided to get into the bar business. So it's been great. But yeah, man, our turnover is really low, which is testimony to a lot of things.
Absolutely. You mentioned culture and morale.
Yeah.
How do you ensure that the mission of Hintify aligns with the aspirations of the community and ensuring that's aligned?
Yeah, I mean, that's huge, bro. You know, you can't appease everybody. You just can't.
Sure.
I mean, just like in business, right? Like not everybody's your customer. They really shouldn't be. So it's difficult. I think what we try to do is, you know, we try to be intentional with how we build, what we do, and who's involved in and voicing their opinion.
Sure.
You know, you want to have people give, you know, their honest assessment about what it is that you're doing, and then give you feedback about what they want to see. And we did that before we opened Boulevard Market. We had town hall meetings. We had, I don't know, it was like a couple, maybe 2 or 3, and then we would go and interview people one-on-one from different demographics, younger audiences, older audiences, community leaders, non-community leaders, and asked everybody, like, what do you want to see? What do you want? This is what we think, but what do you want to do? And I'll tell you, man, people tell you this, they'll tell you straight up, like, we don't want this. Like, we do want this.
They're passionate about it for
yeah,
sure.
they're very passionate, man. And so, you know, we listened and we tried to design based on what we heard from the community. And I think that was important because when we opened, like, they came out, like, community supported it. And everything we do, from all of our events to the concepts that we bring into Boulevard, it's always, our number one value statement, like if you look at our values, like our number one is community first. Everything we do is centered around the community. So if it's a detriment to the community, we won't do it. You know, we advocate for policy. I'm a small business commissioner for Hilda Solis. You know, I'm on the economic development committee for the city of Montebello. I'm constantly working with their director of community development to activate and create. We're launching a new placemaking committee in the Montebello. You know, so it's like, I'm trying my best to, like, do things intentionally and equitably and with the community in mind.
Absolutely.
I'm not perfect. Nobody is, but, you know, we try really hard. And I'd rather have someone like myself and the people that we work with come in and build than, you know, having outside people who don't care and, like, have no intention of helping or wanting to make the place better, right? They're just trying to extract value versus integrate and add value to the community.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's awesome, man. What are some of the challenges that it took to get to this point? You've been established, what, 4 or 5 years now?
Yeah. So it's going to be 4 years in August. Yeah.
4
That we've
years,
been
okay.
open officially.
Sure.
It went by so fast. It's crazy. Yeah.
What were some of the challenges of getting to this point? I know there's been a lot of trial and error, right? You've had amazing events, you know, Lululemon events, Netflix events, all of these wonderful events that you put on for the community. What has the challenges been leading up into this point?
Yeah, you know, there's been different challenges based on the phases that we've gone through, right? Before we opened, it was like, do we have enough capital? Capital was a big one.
Sure.
You know, we don't come from, like, rich family or anything like that. So we just, like, we bootstrapped the hell out of it and we raised capital through our network. You know, we had saved money. I emptied out my 401k just to make sure that we had money to invest in this whole thing. So that was a big thing in the beginning. You know, COVID was COVID was the biggest thing. You know, we built this thing and then we were like, our groundbreaking, and then day one of building was like in January of 2020, and then COVID had launched in March of 2020. So we were just like, what? So we built this thing during COVID. That was a challenge in itself. I learned a lot. I feel like the next one's going to be that much easier because of it.
Sure.
You know, during the process, you also have, you know, again, I have this funny saying that I always say, but it's true. Transformative work comes with putazos. I always say that. Putazos translates into, like, punches, right? Like you're going to get beat up. Anytime you're doing any kind of transformative work, whether it's in the nonprofit space, for-profit space, hospitality, whatever you're doing, it comes with opposition and growth.
Sure.
And so, because some people don't want things to change also.
Right.
Or some people just also want their voice heard. And also there's just some people who just hate just for the sake of hating. And that's been the other challenge, is, like, navigating those waters. Thankfully, I've learned and taught myself how to navigate bureaucracy really well by working in academia. And that helped me navigate the bureaucracy within cities, within communities, being a little more political, like not being so confrontational and just trying to, when someone disagrees with you, like understanding where it's coming from, and it's not personal. It's more sort of this other thing going on, but just listening and then just taking that into consideration and thinking, like, okay, well, what is this person really saying?
Right.
They might be telling you this thing, but they're really not telling you this. And so I'm trying to hear that part also. and then trying to connect the dots in different ways. It's a constant navigation that my wife is always like, I don't know how you do that. And I don't even know sometimes how I do it, because I'll stand there and sometimes somebody will say something crazy to my face. And I'm just like, okay, like
you got to take it, right?
You got to take it.
You got to take
and
it.
you're like, yeah, I understand. Sure. And it happens. But it's again, transformative work comes with putazos. It's just, it's part of the business. And if this business was easy, everybody would do transformative work. It's not. And it's why it's so hard to build these things in these communities, because of this stuff. So those have been the challenges really thus far. Capital is always an issue. It's always going to be an issue for every business, because when you're trying to grow, you're trying to invest more. Competition arises. People want to copy your concept. As you get older, your business stays older longer. I mean, grows older with age and time. You're staying open. You're no longer the new kid on the block. So like you have to reinvent yourself, and but then the creativity comes in. So there's always different challenges for different stages. And so those have been some of the stuff that we've gone through, honestly.
Yeah. You mentioned innovation. Let's talk a little bit about that.
Yeah.
Like we spoke about all the events and community events that you put on, monthly, bi-monthly, the things that you're doing at Boulevard on a consistent basis. What has that process been like for you of, just really figuring out what's working for the community and what the community wants?
Yeah, I will say this. When we first opened Boulevard, I thought like, oh, the space is enough to kind of like drive crazy traffic. What I came to realize is like, no, the community wants events.
Sure.
They want community. They want places where they can congregate together. It's, again, a testimony to that we're hungry for these third places where we can be ourselves outside of work and at home. So, I would never guess, but I've become an event planner. You know what I'm saying? Like this is what the business needed it, and we came that.
Right.
The good thing is that I feel like every time we're doing an event, like we learn from it, we grow from it, we build. And so like we've had some amazing partners, like, 3 months out the gate, you remember we did that partnership with Netflix.
Yeah.
For that show Hentified. And that was a huge thing. I mean, it was they put us on the map.
That was a fun event.
We were in LA Weekly and, all this stuff. CNN was, it was just crazy. And then, the year after that, we did Lululemon, right? They wanted a partner, and they did a huge block party activation. I don't know how much they spent. They spent a crazy amount. The year after that, we did a partnership with DC Studios for their Blue Beetle movie release.
Right.
We've been blessed to kind of have this great, because we've been identified by these brands as like a place where the Latino community that is family oriented on the East Side wants to hang out and congregate.
Sure.
Specifically, like a lot of the Latinas, and that's really our demographic. And so I think our events are all built around that. How do we optimize our space so that our Latina-led families actually have a place where they can hang out? And I think brands understand that. They want to partner with us. They want to do these cool events with us, and it's been fun. It's been really, it's been one of the surprising things that has brought us a lot of joy, because I can't tell you how amazing it is to see families come together and just like enjoy the space.
Yep.
Like serendipitously meet each other. High school people who haven't been out of high school for 20 years, graduated, and oh hey, you surprisingly meet each other at the place. Haven't seen each other in years. I love seeing that stuff, because it's everything we envision and more. You know?
I can definitely. During my time at Boulevard Market, with collaborating with you and putting on some of those events, the Mardi Gras and the Jazz Fest, those are amazing events, and I believe you're still doing Jazz Fest.
We do Jazz
right
Fest.
now.
I miss Mardi Gras. I'll tell you, we still talk about it to this day. How we were throwing the beads from the roof, and everybody was like, "Ah!" We're like,
"This is not how it's done, right?"
Too high. But yeah, we man. Honestly, we had a blast.
Definitely.
I mean, you were there for a year. I mean, you had a good time, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
it was definitely a wonderful experience.
What was it like for you, honestly?
It was a dream come true, man. Like when I first met you at the SBDC, it was just me really trying to figure out what I wanted to do next. And, it was a blessing that I came across paths with you, and you were working on your project, and it just, kind of worked out for the both of us. But, I have some characteristics of you, right? It's, you want to be creative, you want to be innovative. And that's the real fun part of entrepreneurship. It's just creating something and bringing it to life, and having somebody enjoy that, having somebody enjoy the Mardi Gras, the Jazz Fest, and then ultimately the food, right? So it was a wonderful experience for me, and you know, I get that itch for getting back out there, man.
Yeah.
But you know, it was a blessing, and you know, again, you know, want to give you your flowers for allowing me
Yeah,
to
no,
do
I
that
mean,
at your establishment.
you did that, bro. Honestly, you as the kids say, you ate that up and left no crumbs. I think what you did there was so transformative for not just that community, because no one in that community like was expecting that.
Sure.
You know, your cuisine was like so unique and so different, and people had heard about it but never really truly, you know,
Sure.
personally experienced it. I was so proud, dude. Like when you were featured in like it was Eater or LA Times was like best Cajun cuisine, right? Was it?
I believe it was Eater. Yeah, we had a few different Eater articles. Yeah.
But wasn't there an LA Times article?
There was LA Times one as well.
Yeah, oh yeah, sure, yeah, whatever. LA Times. This guy. But you know, I'm so proud, man, because to me, it's like when I see my friends succeed, it makes me so happy because I know how hard you worked for that.
Yeah.
And so that's what I'm about, man. I just like, you know, I'm an assertive businessman. You know, I get things done. The very nature of what we do, you have to be.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of people thinking like, oh, this guy's like, you know, he's all business, he's serious. But I'm, you know, I'm a jokester. You know me, I'm a big jokester. But I'm also very like, man, I want people to succeed around me.
Mm-hmm.
That to me, that's like the biggest metric of like, if I'm doing well, other people around me are doing well.
Mm-hmm.
If that's not happening, then I'm exploiting.
Sure.
I'm doing something wrong.
Sure.
So to me, when I saw that, and you know, like when Miguel, right, and Los Taqueros Mucho, they got theirs. Oh man, when they got their people's, like I'm getting emotional now.
Yeah.
It's huge. It's like it means nothing, but it means everything.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying?
Sure. Absolutely.
Like it means nothing because like, look, dude, it's a paper, it's an article, it's opinion, right? You're not gonna, you know, like that and $5 will get you a cup of coffee, right? Like it's not gonna do, you know, but it's so much to have somebody else validate your work.
100%.
You know what I mean?
100%.
It's like, whoa, that's huge.
Yeah, definitely.
We were just featured in LA Times in Fondelos as both our businesses were like LA best Latino businesses in LA, and I cried because I just was like,
that's big, man. Congratulations on
like,
that. Yeah.
Both of our businesses, like it's crazy, and in good company. Like everybody on that list was like, oh man, it was like such an emotional thing for me, and like to this day, it's going through that was really good, and seeing other people go through that is just it's overwhelming.
Yeah.
I'm very honored and blessed that we've been able to do this work. And yeah, man.
Yeah. And speaking of the LA Times, like what does that mean to you and your team, right? Like that's a huge accomplishment.
Yeah.
Congratulations on that, man. That's, you know, like one of the top accomplishments you can get right there to be recognized in that sense.
You know, it's interesting, right? Because like I said, right, it means nothing, but it means everything.
Mm-hmm.
It's this weird sort of like thing. I always tell chefs, like, don't get hung up on the accolades because it's like an ego thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, 'cause then you start thinking you're special.
Sure.
You start walking different. And then you start like acting different. And then you start thinking like, I don't need to, you know what I mean? Like it impacts everything you do.
Sure.
So that's what I mean by like, it means nothing in that sense. 'Cause it's just like, it's just that, but it means everything because like I said, it's just something that's so important that people are saying like, hey, look, I see you, you know?
Yeah.
And that's huge because, you know, we all just want to be seen. Everybody. We, you know, what was Oprah? Oprah said something one time that always stuck with me too. Like she said, no matter who it was, President Obama, you know, random person that was like a murderer, anybody she's interviewed, at the end of the interview, they would always ask her, was that okay? Isn't that nuts?
That vavalidation, right, from her.
Everybody just wants to be seen. They just want like, was that okay? Did I do an okay job? So for someone to be like, not only did you do a good job, but you're one of the best in this area, man, I can't tell you that made me cry.
Yeah.
It was nuts. Yeah.
What are the next steps for Hintify? What's next for you guys?
Yeah, you know, it's been a roller coaster. You know, I'm trying to invest more in me. I will say this, and I'll be honest. Like there was a period where I was just going through like a depression mode. Like building a company is really, it's you can attest to this. Anybody who's ever been a CEO or a founder, it's a lonely road a lot of times because even though I have an amazing partner, my wife Evelyn, you know, you're carrying a burden a lot of times. And and then when you combine that with just pure operations, you forget about the creativity part of it.
Yeah.
Like that just for me personally damaged my soul. I went through a whole phase. I let my hair grow out. I gained like 40 pounds. Like it was crazy. Finally got through that part and I started saying, you know what, I need to reinvest back into myself. Got in the gym, started focusing on my health, cut my hair and, started to think about how do I grow this thing? It's not about just maintaining. How do we thrive? How do we deepen our impact within our communities? Because if we want to be the company we say we want to be, we can't just stop at one. We have to keep going. We have to keep deepening that impact. And so I joined a program, Stanford last year called the LBAN, Latino Business Association Network. Action Network. And that program, it was about scaling. And so, went through, I think it was 8 to 12 weeks, something like that. And you're surrounded with like other Latino business owners who, have high threshold for their businesses, people who are making millions of dollars selling gummies and avocados and, you name it. It's nuts. And you learn so much about what it takes to scale a company. And one thing I realized myself was like, I was in the way. I was getting in the way. So, you go from 0 to 1 million and you have a set of problems. The business requires you to do some things. But in order to go from like 1 to 3 million, you need to build processes, systems, people. You need to leverage, you have to build a company. You're not just building a technical business that does something and you're in there doing it also. You're now, your job is not the product, your product is the company, right? And so that's the next step, is like focusing on building our systems, building up our management team, investing in growth. And that will get us to the next place, which is now opening up location 2, 3, 4. Sure. Thankfully, we have a couple cities that we're in the middle of kind of like figuring out what that looks like. We're negotiating with a couple cities, like, I don't want to say the cities yet because we haven't fully announced it, but we're working on some projects that are still within Latino communities, Black and brown communities. We're negotiating the details of some deals where we're trying to build Boulevard Market 2, maybe nice. Boulevard Market 3. Both of those projects would be hugely impactful in those communities. Sure. Very similar to Montebello, where there was like nothing there before. Not to say nothing there. That's rude. There was nothing sort of that would tap into this sort of millennial demographic that we're talking about, right? And so that's kind of what we're trying to do and we have a couple of those projects on the horizon. We've been growing our Alchemy craft brand, investing in catering. So we now grow catering. We now do concessions for the UCLA. Having gone to USC, sorry. Traitor. Fight on. But now that we're doing that, it's been amazing because we are expanding opportunities for the team now too, right? The team gets to make more money. They get paid more hourly wages for those events. It's a trickle effect, right? That's huge. That's huge. So it's been phenomenal for us to kind of grow in that way. We're thinking about launching potentially a new brand in your old kitchen spot, in the incubator kitchen. Miguel Los Taqueros and I were talking about potentially doing something. So we're kind of toying with different ideas and seeing where we go with this stuff. But the idea is always to never stop, to keep growing, to keep deepening the impact, creatively expressing ourselves, and keep scratching the entrepreneurial itch because we itch a lot.
You mentioned at one point you had to look inward and really get back to Barney, right?
Yeah.
And I've been seeing you. You've been traveling a little bit over the last several months, drinking beer out of shoes and things of that nature.
Glass boots.
Where do you draw inspiration from when you're traveling or you're out eating? I know you're really big on aesthetics and decor and things of that nature. Where do you draw inspiration from when you're traveling and doing these things?
Yeah, my wife is amazing. Evelyn, again, she's my business partner, right? Like her and I, we co-founded this company together. She is huge on traveling. Like, for me, it's like the entrepreneurial creativity aspect. If I'm not creative, I get depressed. If Evelyn's not traveling, forget it. My life is not good. So in order to help us together have a good life together,
it's a win-win, right?
We got to travel. And, through that, it's been amazing because since when we hit 40, we were like, all right, let's put our foot in the gas pedal. We travel even more. We've always traveled, but like when we travel, we look at the lens of we look at through the lens of how old cities are built, right? They're walkable.
Mm-hmm.
Retail is amazing. Why is it amazing, right? What makes them so good at, like in Japan, like what makes Japan so good at retail?
Mm-hmm.
If you've been to Japan, like, it's phenomenal. They're organized, the aesthetics, the intention over every single piece of interaction you have with the space is designed to evoke an emotion, an experience, and a moment, right? So like, how do you translate that into spaces here?
Sure.
Every time I travel, I always look at that, whether it's a restaurant, we were in Amsterdam recently. I was inspired by a restaurant that just sold French fries. And I was inspired by their operations and how their line was so efficient when they're just selling one product. I was so inspired by this place. I want to say it was in Belgium. I could be wrong. It might have been in actually Netherlands also. They just sold a chocolate chip cookie. That is it. Like this place only sold one flavor.
That's difficult to do, and
That's
still
nuts.
stay open
In a
right?
storefront, right? And
Yeah.
the storefront looked like it was 100 years old. Like they designed it that way, and they had like 14 people working just pumping out this one cookie, and there was lines out the door, literally out the door. To me, I'm just like, I'm fascinated by that, right? Because it's like, how do you incorporate those ideas into what we do here today? And you can only get those ideas by traveling and exposing yourself, right? We went to Belgium and the beer there is phenomenal, right? How do you incorporate some of their sense of history and experience, and we're into the bar that we have now? We're going to be doing something where we went to a bar in Ghent. It was so hilarious. It was like you order a beer, one of those Yard House beers. It's a 40-ounce beer. You can't sell 40-ounce beers here in our ABC license laws. But if you order one, the glass is so expensive because custom made. They're like 100 euros to buy one, I guess, or for them, that they take your shoe. They take your left shoe and they put it in a basket and then they like raise it up. And I thought it was hilarious because everybody in the restaurant, or in the bar, I should say, is like shooting a video of the people raising this basket of dirty shoes, right? Stupidest idea. Everybody's enthralled by it.
Sure.
It's an experience.
Yeah.
Right. So like, I thought, well, let's do that at our place. Like, it's just fun. It's dumb. It doesn't cost anything. Like, it's just, pulley system, a basket. We'll start selling boots, like 32-ounce boots. I mean, it's the simple ideas like that you can implement that create a sense of experience and make it more than just a restaurant, more than just a bar. Yep. It's now a place where you can go and experience something. And today, because of social media, because of AI, because of VR and where that's going, the more we become dependent on digital, the more we're going to need physical spaces. We're going to want third spaces and physical places so we can congregate and feel human again.
Sure. So
we're doubling down and we're just trying to figure out, when we travel, how do we take those experiences and implement them in the projects that we do?
Definitely. I always tell people the product comes last, right? It's the experience, the aesthetics, the customer service, the decor, all those things that lead to the end product. And it's like, okay, wow, this food is amazing too, right? I think a lot of people miss that.
You nailed it. It's really true, man. Honestly, what I've noticed, being around chefs and restaurant owners for so long, you start seeing patterns. You start seeing formulas, what works and what doesn't work.
Yep.
And, you start seeing there's a lot of chefs who are just really great artists, right? They're amazing at cooking. They'll make some weird stuff that you're like, what? And you try, and you're like, oh my God, blows your mind away. But they somehow concoct that in their head. It's a brilliant mind. But they're horrible at operations, right? Or they're bad at marketing, right? Or they're inconsistent or something, right? And I think a lot of times what happens is you need to start at the experience, at the customer, at the business level, understand where that's at. That will translate into great. If you're a great product person, no matter what, then cool, you got it in the bag. But if you skip the experience part and the operations part and the marketing consistency, all the brand promises, the things that customers expect from you, you're gonna flop. Because on the other side too, you need both things working in tandem. You just do.
Sure.
On the flip side, you have so many people who are operationally strong people who forget about the marketing, who forget about the product,
Right.
and they fail because who cares if you have a tight operations? Who cares if your food costs are below industry standards when you have nobody buying product, right?
Yeah.
Like, who cares? You have empty storefront, but my operations are great. You know what I mean?
Definitely.
So it's a combination. It's a really hard thing to kind of like accomplish. Both of them are really difficult.
100%. 100%. What advice would you give to entrepreneurs wanting to enter in this space, whether that be hospitality or real estate?
Yeah. Real estate's tough. Commercial real estate's tough because it's like it requires a lot of capital.
Sure.
CapEx heavy. You know, if you have a network and you can look, if you're starting out, I think you just get into the space. I always think it depends on what age you're in, right? Like if you're in your 20s, I think you shadow somebody who's really great at it.
Right.
You go stage at restaurants. You know, you offer your services up for free to be, you know, a social media person or helping them with operations, whatever, if you can, right? If you're not able to, then I understand that that's understandable too. You know, but the beauty about being in your early 20s is that you have time, not a lot of responsibilities. You don't have a mortgage, you don't have kids, you know. So I think in your 20s, you should stage, you should shadow, you should intern, you should try really hard to get in the space somehow to learn how people navigate. And then once you have an idea of what the industry is, you up your knowledge. And then entrepreneurship is just about you leveraging your resources, right? What you know, who you know, and then ultimately taking that to start something. You should always just start with some small step that kind of gets you to the place you need to go, something that's manageable and risk tolerant for you. But you know, you don't need to like launch a full-fledged storefront to get a restaurant. You know, you could start with a pop-up. A lot of people do that now. Now, thankfully, you got cottage laws. You can actually sell food from your house now. You know, that's a great place to start.
Absolutely.
Sell your friends and family, build a little bit of a following, get some traction. Before you know, you do something great, people come to you. People will come to you and give you money. They'll be like, hey man, let me invest in your restaurant. Hey, you know, people will come to you. Yeah. You know, you just got to start. And I think so many people are like wanting things to be perfect that they hold themselves back from actually getting there. And we were talking about that earlier, right? Like content, and my whole thing is like not wanting to start building more of a personal brand from a content perspective because I just know I'm going to suck bad in the beginning. But you know, I just know I have to do it. We've got to do it. So it's just one of those things that I think in entrepreneurship, that's the thing about entrepreneurs. You just jump and you figure it out. And you
100%. You got to go.
You got to go.
Yep.
You just got to go. Yeah.
In closing, how important is it for entrepreneurs to focus on cultural authenticity when establishing these models?
Yeah. You know, for me, culture is so important because it's indicative of your experience, right? Who you are, where you, there's people nowadays, especially more today than anything, they care about story.
Sure.
They want to know you. And they want to know about your story through the journey of your food or your real estate or whatever it is that you're doing, right? Sure. So I think culture is so important because at the end of the day, again, I go back to this thing where it's like people want to feel connected to a place. They want to feel it's not just a coffee shop. Right, Starbucks got away from that whole model of like third place, being that culturally relevant local shop. Now they're just like the cold fast food place, and business is slow now for them. Yep. Right, you have all these other smaller coffee shop boutiques, and they're taking over, right?
Crushing it.
Why?
Yeah,
because of that. Their culture doesn't necessarily mean just, you know, I think just like, you know, whether you're black or brown or Asian or whatever, you know, whatever heritage or race you are. I think it's also just like culturally speaking, where is your, like, what subcategory of culture are you too, right? Because some people leverage Chicano culture or lowrider culture or, you know, music. People have this amazing cultural fixation on records, on hi-fi, and they create hi-fi bars, right? So like using that cultural relevance and that history and that experience and injecting that into a project, it just makes it authentic. It makes it feel real. And if it feels real and it feels authentic and it doesn't feel like you're just some like corporate shill trying to like pander to the community,
People will come.
people come because they resonate. It resonates with them, right?
Yeah.
What's that Gen Z? I'm so obsessed with it. Whenever something feels like a corporate problem or some corporate entity trying to like inject themselves into culture, what do they always see in the comments? Like, nice try, Diddy. Because they know it's like you're up to something. I see you. Nice try, right? People know, like they know, and I think it's super authentic. So the more you can lean into that part of you and express that through a product and through a space and through a brand, the more you shine and the more you stand out.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Well, man, I again really appreciate you being here, man. So proud of what you built
Thank
at
you, bro.
Boulevard Market.
Yeah.
Excited for your next endeavors. Again, thanks for showing up for me and blessing episode 3, man. Really appreciate it.
It's an honor, man. I'm so excited for you. I know you're going to keep watching. Stay tuned. There's going to be gold coming. I'm excited, man.
Awesome. I appreciate that. Well, let the people know where they can find you, social media handles,
Yeah.
any upcoming events.
Yeah.
Let the people know what's up, man.
You know, you can always find me at Boulevard Market. Our companies, I'm online. Easy is at Barney Santos. Is BarneySantos. Instagram, Twitter, Threads, you name it, I'm on it with that handle. I've been blessed to get it, so it's good.
Awesome, man. Well, again, man, appreciate you blessing episode 3, and best of luck with everything.
Thank you, brother. Thank you.
Yes, sir.